much for being here on the Scrunch Creator Economy Show. It's so lovely to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
I'm so excited. We said this before we hit record, but we are long overdue a catch up. So I was absolutely stoked when you booked in because I can't wait to hear everything that's been going on. And maybe that's a good place to start. So let's give some context to everyone dialing in as to how we got here. So was there a career? I know you all the way back in the influencer, now we're calling them content creator days, but now you're a fully fledged business owner. So talk us through that journey.
Whew, okay, going way back. So I had my own label, my own fashion label straight out of school. I was 18. I launched that. And that was kind of my first foray into the fashion industry. So I was making it myself. I was doing runways, all the product photography, everything. So I really got to experience every side of the business, the marketing, the everything. Influencers weren't really a thing back then though, but it was a really interesting experience and I loved it. And so I had my label and then I got a scholarship to travel and work overseas. So I packed up and I went and worked for other fashion brands in Berlin and London. I did one fashion week. It was amazing.
Oh my God, yeah.
Experience. And I started writing then. So I launched the Fashion Advocate under a different name, which I don't know that I want to share.
Oh my God, you have to now.
It's horrendous now that I think about it. It was called the Chic Visionnaire.
I love that so much.
Because, it was like this, I have this vision for, fashion, and so I changed that quite quickly. But yeah.
If you're not embarrassed by the first thing you put out, you have not put it out soon.
Yeah, have you really?
That's how the saying goes. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, so I started sort of writing under that name and launched the Instagram account in 2014. And I was just sort of, blogging and writing and Instagramming my travels and everything to do with fashion. And then it came time to move home. So I came home and moved to Melbourne. And I'd also worked out that there was not really a place for ethical and sustainable labels online. So I continued my influencing stuff, but I also launched the Fashion Advocate as an online store. And as that grew, I then sort of grew out the blog. So then I guess content creation just became, a whole thing. So it was Instagram and the blog and running the store. And then fast forward to today, it's a pretty big business. It's one of the biggest in Australia for ethical and sustainable fashion labels, and I'm so proud of it.
You should be. It's amazing.
Thank you. Not without a few grey hairs. I mean, it has been, a labor of love, but such a beautiful community. And I get to work with some incredible brands. I get to work with influencers as well. So I kind of do both sides of the coin, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I've just recently launched a second business as well. It's called The Moral Manual, and it's all about mentoring, coaching ethical and sustainable businesses on their growth as well, and how to work with influencers as well.
Oh my God, that's incredible. I love that you have both perspectives on things, because I feel like sometimes there's a little bit of a divide between influencers or content creators and brands. And, I think there does need to be at some point a bit of a collision course in terms of, both sides understanding each other's values and kind of lifting each other up. So I'm super excited to explore that. But yeah, so tell me, how did you, decide to take the leap from, content creator to business extraordinaire? Obviously you were super passionate about the ethical fashion space. Was it just seeing the gap in the market, or what sparked that?
Yeah, there was a really big gap in the market. So, ethical and sustainable brands were coming to me for content. And I was also constantly on the lookout for sustainable brands that I wanted to wear. And it was always trying to, sleuth online. There just wasn't a central place for it all. And I guess that's where the idea came from. I wanted to make it easy for other people like me who had my values and didn't want to spend a whole ton of time researching, and just wanted to be able to find everything in one place. So, and I mean, when I launched the shop side of it, I constantly went back and forth, is it a shop? Am I an influencer? And I put so much pressure on myself in the beginning to be one or the other. But at the end of the day, I love doing both.
Yeah.
And so I've just continued to do both, and it just has kind of worked. I work with brands who aren't stocked on the store, and then I have brands on the store that I don't necessarily do campaigns for, but I don't know, it works.
That's so good. And I love the idea that you can choose. It's literally, you're the boss, right? So you get to choose whether you do a sponsored post, a campaign, more ambassador, influencer role, or, have them in your business. I think that's amazing that you actually get to design the whole thing.
Yeah, I think that for me, I've always been really passionate about trying to create the kind of life and create the kind of work that I want to do. I mean, we all, at the end of the day, there are things we all have to do that we don't like doing, accounting on Mondays and all that kind of stuff. There are the things, right? But I don't know. I also am a big believer that if you want to shape a certain life, you can. So I've always been really passionate about trying to create that kind of workflow that works for me and that makes me happy, because if it doesn't make you happy, why do it?
Yeah, exactly. I love that so much. So then talk to me about the difference between the two. So, I think a lot of creators kind of have their heads around a sponsored post, a brand either contacts them or they're out there pitching. But I'm super interested in how creators can actually take the leap into their own products and services, because I kind of think that that's the missing link between designing the life that you want to lead. I do feel like it gives you a lot more control over your destiny versus, constantly pitching brands for work. What's the mindset shift that you kind of had to go through to go from sponsored post to, okay, everything's in my control. I need to grow this business. I need to get sales. I need to build it. How did you manage that?
Yeah, I think it comes down to for me anyway, maybe it was a personal worth kind of shift, I guess, because as a content creator, you are constantly trying to sell yourself and your content to brands, or brands are coming to you. And the industry is not regulated, so there's still a lot of toing and froing about, price point and all that kind of stuff. And I guess you kind of get to a point where it's like, I know what I'm offering is really valuable. I know my position in the industry. I know I'm a great content creator. I know I can write the pants off a newspaper. I'm really good at that kind of stuff. It's my turn to now turn that into something that is for me. So I'm not negotiating rates. I'm not underselling myself. I'm not, having to give more than the time that's being paid for. So, and there's such a massive opportunity there. I mean, you think about Kim Kardashian, who was in that influencing space, and then she brings out a brand, and that brand goes gangbusters.
Exactly. Yes.
It's a huge opportunity for content creators to, like you said before, create their own destiny when they go from just content creation to content creation plus personal brand.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I, as a business owner, I feel like there's many challenges that we go through. Have you had any challenges over, the course of growing your business?
How long have we got? Have we got some time?
We need a bottle of wine. Stop.
A bottle? Have you got a case of wine? Man, challenges all the time. If we didn't have challenges, challenges are part of it. And I think you go through these challenges and they make you stronger. But can I pinpoint any one particular challenge story to share? I don't know. I guess you just learn through it I did. I learned through it as I went. Again, because, there was no uni degree or course for influencer and content creator. There's a lot of good stuff now. But challenges in, I guess, running a business, it's just,
it's almost the everything, isn't it?
It's everything.
It's really funny that you say that. Well, because it's like, I remember when COVID hit, everyone was like, oh my God, this is rare. And I'm like, this is just another day. There is always a problem as a business owner. Literally every day there's a new problem. So it's you really have to get good at solving problems and being super okay that everything's figure outable.
Yeah, totally. And that's the best attitude to have, I think. Instead of when challenges happen, actually, here's a really good one. So before COVID, I had two shops. I had one in Beaumaris and one in Hampton. And before we secured the lease for the Hampton shop, I found a shop in Brighton, and I was head over heels for this shop. Like, I just was wholeheartedly like wanted every part of my being wanted this shop. I fought tooth and nail for it, negotiating with landlords, really hectic stuff. And we'd had that many meetings that I was like, yep, we're there, we're in, this is great, we've got it. And then just out of the blue, I mean, he got a better offer from someone else. I get this note, it's not going to happen anymore. And, I'd all but committed everything.
Wow.
And so just like that, I had a shop and then didn't have a shop. And I went home, and that night I had a bath and took a bottle of wine into the bath.
Yes.
And put on, fixes everything. Not condoning, if you don't drink.
No, absolutely. Responsible. Be responsible, please, people.
I could have gone home and done 3 hours of yoga, and I'm sure I would have had the same outcome, but I didn't. I crawled into a bath with a bottle of wine and just like cried and cried and cried and cried. And then I got up the next day and I was like, okay, there's a reason why I didn't get this shop. There's a reason why this didn't work out. It's not flowing. Like, we've come to a halt. And you just kind of have to reframe the negative things and the challenges in business. And like you said, you've just got to approach it like everything is figure outable, because if you let the challenges get you down and you're in business, man, you will just be a mess, because the challenges are constant. You just have to face everyone and learn ways around it and pick yourself up and dust yourself off and keep going.
Yeah, that's so true. That's literally, if you can have that attitude towards, well, not only business, but life as well, I think that you're just so much better set up to manage the roller coaster of emotions that goes with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's your experience been like, since you're on both sides, on the influencing side and the brand side, what's your experience been like that maybe has been a little bit more eye-opening working with other influencers? Have you kind of, I don't know, I guess had an approach to the way you handled things and then worked with other people and gone, that's interesting?
Yeah, absolutely. I won't name names, but we recently wanted to go into an influencer campaign, actually 2 years ago, with someone who's quite big, over 1 million followers, probably a name that most people would know. And so just approach them in the normal sense, we've got a product, how do you work, what's the deal? And they were being handled by an agency. So the agency came back, these are the rates, this is how it works. And so me being the analytical person, I want to know that if I'm going to put $10,000 into one post, that the return is going to be there, because there's two different ways, sometimes you can't quantify brand exposure, but you also want to be able to quantify sales. Yeah. Anyway, so I went back to them and said, great, I'm prepared to toy with this idea, but can you show me some past campaign results with similar brands? I want to know what the sell-through rate is like, what kind of following can, I expect, blah, blah, blah. And they just came back and said, sorry, we can't share those details. And so I was really surprised, because as a brand, you want to be going into these things knowing what you're going into.
Yeah.
You don't buy a house without doing an inspection. It's
totally.
you want to be going into them with a full understanding of what the return on investment is and the expectations. And so that really surprised me. So coming from that sort of angle, when people don't or can't give that kind of information, sometimes it's a red flag. Yeah. Maybe they are over promising and under delivering. I don't know. Maybe they just don't follow up their campaigns with results. Who knows? But yeah, that
interesting though too, like when you think of people at that level and the fact that they have essentially a business manager, like that's a loss of $10,000+ for that influencer, because that business manager hasn't then followed up, got case studies, and been able to provide that level of information to new brands.
Absolutely. And so for anyone, if they are a business manager in that situation, you're right, it was a lost opportunity. And you'd go away and you go, okay, give me a week. I'm just going to go gather all that for you and go get it. Because if I've asked for it, I bet someone else has asked for it, or someone else will in the future. So having that kind of information on hand is really important.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really interesting. Okay, cool. So so of good experiences that you've had with influencers, have you got any tips for brands running an influencer campaign? So maybe they haven't dipped their toes in the water yet and they're going, oh my God, what do I even do? Where do I even start? Do you have any tips for making a successful influencer campaign?
Yes. Relationship. It's all about relationship. I've had a ton of positive experience with influencers, maybe because I approach it in a particular way, but also I guess I try and build relationships with people first before I just go, hey, can you flog my product? You know, like there's a bit of homework and groundwork you need to do.
Yeah.
You can throw money at someone and they can do a post, but it's not going to be authentic and it's probably not going to land with their audience, because people can see through that now as well. That's the other thing to remember. But yeah, in terms of approaching these kind of campaigns and projects in a positive way, you just want to make sure the relationship's there. So as an example, I recently worked with there's a linen brand called Boomy. They're an Australian brand, don't know if you know them, or not recently, quite a few months ago, but it was a really successful campaign and a really positive experience for both of us. So it's not just about sales as well, because you want to create long-term relationships with people, right? So that the business is repetitive. And it landed really well and it worked out really well because I had such a personal story to tell with linen. And so it wasn't just about, hey, here's a pretty sheet, buy these sheets from this brand.
Yeah.
It was me sharing a personal story about how when we were kids, my mum used to let us choose the doona cover and the linen set that we wanted. And it was a really special experience for us getting to, go and choose. And she was a linen nut as well. So I had this really personal story to share. And then as an adult, if you work as hard as I do, you know how valuable sleep is. So like getting into bed is an experience. You get into that, that feeling, the feeling of great linen. And so I kind of rolled up this whole personal experience and shared that through the campaign. And they've gone on to sell tens of thousands of dollars worth of linen, and they sold out of this colorway and people are asking for it back. And it was really positive because it was an experience story sharing thing. It wasn't just a meaningless post. And so I think if you're looking for a positive experience from both sides, as a brand, as the marketer, as the influencer, it's all about being authentic and sharing that personal story.
Yeah. And I guess you don't get to that personal story unless you do take the time to build the relationship like you started that with, it's like you can absolutely, as you said, send an influencer some money, send them a brief. But if you're not actually invested in understanding why they might be a good fit and taking that time to have a conversation, then you miss out on that really good stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's about shared values too. I mean, they're an ethical and sustainable brand. And obviously I'm a ethical and sustainable influencer. So there were a lot of shared values in that too. So yeah, just that relationship building makes, and the research, like put the effort in, if you want a good outcome, you got to do the input.
Oh my God, that's just true of everything in life, isn't it? Oh my God. Well, I mean, it's interesting though, because people back in the day kind of poo-pooed influencer marketing a little bit, but I'm like, it's people's full-time job now. Like it's not a quick thing, when you consider the research, the relationship building, the stats gathering, the briefing, the sending of products, the following up, the content creation, the reporting. Like it's not just a quick fix,
Absolutely. And it's funny how it has changed. You probably know what is it, billions of dollars? You'd know it more than I do, what the industry is worth. It's
like 100. So it's currently like $100 billion, and they reckon it's going to be like $1 trillion in the coming years. Like it's going crazy.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. And maybe that's because now people on social media are, I don't know, they're looking for that personal, referral of products rather than old school, billboards, and they still have a place, but it's very different now in product marketing. But yeah, it's changed. I remember when I sort of first started out and it was, blogger at that point.
Yes.
And people, the way that people used to kind of like, oh, blogger, like
totally. Yeah.
You get free
I was a
stuff.
blogger back in the day, and I kind of look back on those times very fondly.
Oh yeah, but the way that sort of people's perception of what
what you did, yeah, totally. Yep.
And now it's not as bad now, but I did go to a really, really big media conference in Sydney, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and there was an entire section on just new age media, and they, in front of, the crowd would have been like 500, 600 people, they poo-pooed influencers. And I think because there's definitely a handful of influencers who create a negative connotation of the work that we do, but there's that in every industry.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So, yeah, it is. I mean, we bring value to brands, it's important work that influencers do.
Totally. And I think that exactly what you said. So there are some people that give influencers a bad name, but I also think the challenge in influencer marketing is because of the competition between influencers and the media can kind of write these articles that do put influencers down, which just perpetuates the negative story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does the industry zero favors.
No good. Yeah.
I know, like it's literally like if media just thought of themselves as influencers and got more on board with the authentic content, there would be far more money going their way and they wouldn't have to write these articles.
Yeah, collaboration instead of competition, right? If they just change the perception, then
it's not going anywhere. So get on board.
Get on board.
So talk to me about the new business. So where did that, obviously it's in the same vein as the ethical and sustainability and working with the same kinds of brands, but how did that idea spark and what does that business look like?
I love this business. It's like me loving the fashion advocate and getting to do what I do in fashion, but like everything. And so it really, really excites me because I got to a point in fashion where I don't just want to change the fashion industry anymore. I want to change the world. I want to change all kinds of businesses.
Amazing.
And the idea had kind of just been there in the back of my mind for quite some time. And I just kept putting it down, putting it back. And then obviously COVID hit and a lot of things changed, had to shut down the stores and everything was work from home. And it gave me more time to sit with that idea. And I made it happen. I had the time to make it happen. And I don't know how, but I was pregnant and wrote and launched my first course for the new business and built the website myself and set everything up. And it's something that I'm really passionate about. So it's all about teaching brands and businesses how to operate more ethically, more sustainably, and to use their purpose as a driver. It's about using business as a force for good. Awesome. So I work one-on-one with brands. I have my Impact Accelerators open at the moment. So it's a 10-week course for brands to learn how to do more good. And I love it. And I get to work with some incredible brands as well. It really, lights me up.
So it's not just fashion brands, it's anybody that is interested in bringing that ethical and sustainable element to their business?
Yeah, not just fashion, so anything. And you don't already have to be ethical and sustainable. I'm really passionate about educating people on how they can do that through business as well. That's cool. For people who might already be doing that, you want to do more of it or make more sales doing that, or you're new to it and you want to learn about it and you want to bring it into your business, because the end goal is to just have more people operating ethically and sustainably.
Oh, that's so cool. And how amazing now that we can do these things from our homes, right? Like obviously COVID was such a huge shock to everybody and I don't want to discount the things that people went through, but I feel like there was some amazing things that did happen, giving yourself the space to sit with an idea that now lights you up so incredibly, the fact that you could just do it from your laptop. Like that's what I say to creators as well. I'm like, now is the time. Like you have this amazing opportunity. There's so many resources, so much support out there that if you do have something that's kind of, lit up inside you, we've got the tools to launch that now.
Yeah, honestly, there is no better time than now. We're doing this, Zoom. I had a call with a brand in New Zealand this morning, like we can do everything and anything from a computer with Wi-Fi.
Yes.
The potential is limitless, so limitless, especially for content creators. I mean, we've got phones, iPhones. You can honestly run a business with a laptop and a phone and internet now.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's so true. I really do think there's never been a better time, and I interchange now the word creator and business owner, because I'm like, I really feel like as a creator, if you're not starting to think about what that product or service or thing is that you can do, that you do have that control over, you're probably doing yourself a bit of a disservice.
Yeah, absolutely. It is good to think about yourself, even you're right, as a content creator, if you're not thinking about yourself as a business owner, I mean, it's just a hobby, really.
Yeah.
If you're serious about it, you want to be turning it into a business, and you want to be putting those strategies in place to have it, build and pay you a wage and, build the life that you want from it.
Yeah, that is incredible. So where do you think it's going? So you've seen the evolution of, back in the blogging days, now the influencing and creating days, and then as a business owner, you've seen both sides. Do you have a view into what's kind of, maybe it's a trend right now, or what's kind of coming next for the creator economy?
I wish I had a crystal ball
to
answer this because, like, honestly, if I think back, when I was just blogging and doing the Instagram, I had no idea that it was going to shift the way it has shifted to
true.
now. So, I mean, what it's going to be in the next 5 years, I don't know, but I do know that it is, I mean, it's just becoming so integral to brand vision to have influencer marketing in place. And I don't know, whether that's something that brands are starting or will be starting to bring in-house. So you have the designer, you have your in-house influencer who's doing all that content creation. And I mean, I think it's becoming more and more a part of brand vision and brand building. As for the trends and moving forward, I don't know. I also like to take trends with a grain of salt because I'm big on authenticity. And so I like being aware of them, but I also like remembering that what works for me doesn't necessarily work for another brand when it comes to a campaign. So I guess brands and businesses need to be mindful that at the end of the day, they have to go back to their purpose and see what works for them. But as you said before, it's not going anywhere. It's only going to get bigger. And yeah, I mean, people are really looking to other people for connection. Like, connection is so important. So just that honest, real content. I mean, 5 years ago, it was all about the filters and that aspirational, that really polished look. And it's just not like that anymore. So I think it's moving in that really honest, authentic direction and just that real stuff.
Yeah. And look, and maybe that's the direction that it's moving in, is actually like back to the OG days when we posted just whatever. It makes me laugh just thinking of, how you get Facebook memories and it shares like the photos. And I'm like, why did I upload 100 photos of nothing? Like, I feel like we're going back to those times where it's just do what you feel. Like, it can be organic and sloppy, and that's just life.
Yeah, totally. Just life. And that's what people want to see, just life. And yeah, I get those memories all the time. And some of the things I think, oh my God, like, what was I thinking? Well, that's a beautiful 10th photo of my coffee this week. Like, I don't need to see another one.
Like, I'll look at that sky again. Right. Very, very philosophical of me.
So philosophical.
And what about then, with all of this experience under your belt, thinking about people who want to start now. So maybe they're in a full-time job, and they're looking at this world and thinking, that's what I want. I want to be a creator, or I want to, start a creative business of some type. Any tips for getting started today?
Just do it.
Yeah, nice. That is so the best tip.
Just do it. Don't be held back by fear. If you're already thinking about it, just do it. Obviously from an analytical financial perspective, maybe you're doing it as a side hustle while you're still working full time. If you can afford to jump ship and, start doing your influencing or your content creating full time, then go for gold. But do it in a way that is sustainable for you. And I don't mean that from an environmental perspective. I mean it from a personal juggling perspective. If you're going to do it full time, make sure you've got the income to support doing it. And just find something that is really meaningful to you. There's so many people doing content creation, but there's only one you. So if you can find something that is really authentic to you and it is your deep purpose and your passion, then content creation is going to be easy and you are going to be successful.
Oh my God, that's incredible. Thank you so much, Claire, for spending your time with us here at Scrunch. I really appreciate you sharing your experiences and your honesty. It's absolutely incredible.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute joy.